Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about a potential reunion between the Tennessee Titans and the former 5th overall pick of the 2017 NFL Draft, Mr. Corey Davis. So, welcome into Titans Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, breaking down the latest Titans news and rumors for you guys because there's some interesting stories out there, and I thought you guys might be interested in this one. So, let's jump right into it. He has been rumored to be on the trading block all offseason long. Once Aaron Rodgers got there, it sounded like the Jets were kind of greenlighting Rodgers to pick his new receiving core. They signed Mecole Hardman, Allen Lazard, and Randall Cobb, two former Packers players. And all of a sudden, Corey Davis, who we all remember inked a pretty lucrative 3-year deal with the Jets, is kind of on the outs. He is sliding towards the bottom of the depth chart. So there is some conversations about maybe Davis being available. And that's where the Titans come into play. Because Jim Wyatt, the team reporter, does a great job, often does mailbags during the summer. He was asked by Mr. Rich D this question. Do you think there is any possibility the Titans could trade for Corey Davis? I think Davis would fit better than Hopkins. This is what Jim Wyatt had to say. As for Corey Davis, I get the sense you're not alone. I've received a lot of emails on him. I have to be careful working for the team because Corey is under contract with another team, and I don't want to get in trouble for tampering. But I continue to see rumblings about his status from reporters who cover the Jets. Why not make a move, right? You are, Tennessee, clearly in the market for a new wide receiver or another wide receiver. I know that things never quite lived up to the potential of the 5th overall pick, but I'm game for Corey Davis coming back to the Music City. And if Jim Wyatt is kind of beating around the bush there going, I don't want to get in trouble for tampering, but I've heard rumblings, a.k.a. Jim Wyatt shares a wall with Rand Carthon, and Rand is frequently talking to someone in East Rutherford about a potential wide receiver trade. And Jim's a smart fella. He can connect the dots right there. So I think there is something to the possibility of Corey Davis coming back to the Volunteer State. Now, Davis was in Tennessee for 4 seasons to start his career, and it never really took off the way everyone thought it would. I was talking about him with our producer before we started filming, and go back and look at his stats from Western Michigan. The guy put up 19 touchdowns in his last season up in Western Michigan. But his final year in Tennessee set him up for a nice payday in the offseason. 984 yards and 5 touchdowns. Never quite got over that 1,000-yard milestone. Took a bit of a step back after his second season. Really looked like he was building something there. I like Corey Davis. He never quite lived up to top 10 potential, but he's not a bad wide receiver. Now, Davis so far with the Jets, it's been a bad combination of lack of availability and spotty quarterback play, to put it lightly, right? Between the Zach Wilson failed experiment, White coming in for a little bit, Joe Flacco coming in, he's never taken off. This past season for the Jets, 536 yards and 2 touchdowns. Something that's always been a bit frustrating when it comes to Corey Davis is he's got so many great tools to his disposal, but 64 targets and only 32 were cashed in as receptions. A good amount of that can be blamed to bad quarterback play, but that was also an issue he had in Tennessee as well. Now, I want to hear from everyone watching right now. Would you be open to a reunion? This is the pinned comment on today's show. So if YouTube sticks an ad break right around now, take advantage of it. Let the ad roll, cha-ching, scroll on down, and give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Now, I would be remiss to not mention the financial side of this. So Corey Davis is under contract for 1 more season. His cap hit this year is $11.1 million. Something tells me the Jets are not interested in paying their wide receiver 4. Like, Garrett Wilson's 1. Allen Lazard is probably 2. He's paid handsomely. Mecole Hardman and Randall Cobb, and then Corey Davis all battling for wide receiver 3/4. They're not going to pay him $11+ million to be towards the bottom of their depth chart, especially when the dead cap hit is less than $1 million. So they would take that nice $10.5 million cap savings for a wide receiver 4. Now, if he is traded, a team would take on his base salary, which is around $10 million. but no team is going to agree to that. So there would likely be some sort of agreement where the Jets eat a lot of that money, kind of like we saw with Von Miller, for example, or Khalil Mack are two notable examples of teams eating a lot of money so that a trade could be facilitated. But if the Jets get through camp and preseason, injury-free, and they don't lose a wide receiver, Corey Davis is not sticking around. That much I can guarantee you. I just don't see a world where if everyone stays healthy, the New York Jets sign off on an $11 million fourth-string wide receiver. That's just not in the cards for Davis this year. So here is the trade idea that I cooked up. Corey Davis for a future 6th-round pick. I don't think it costs you very much to get the former 5th overall pick. A team would be doing the Jets a favor, taking that salary off their books, which I'm sure the Jets would have to eat some of it anyway to get a deal done. Now, we saw, for example, with DeAndre Hopkins, no team bit, no team nibbled, right? No team wanted to take that contract. So ultimately, the Cardinals decided to just cut their headache short and move on from him altogether. And that very well could be the case for Davis. So don't rule out Corey Davis being cut right before the 53-man roster cutdown day. The Jets could do him a solid, cut him like a week before, so that teams aren't panicking at the last moment to figure out, do we want to add Corey Davis? Do we have a spot for him? So he very well could be a cut candidate for the Jets as well. Now, with this trade idea out there, what do you think about it? Would you do this trade? If you were the new GM in town, are you typing T for trade, P for pass? I want to know what everyone watching has to say about a Corey Davis trade to bring him back to the Titans. For me, if you can't tell already, I'm in on trading for Davis for cheap. It really wouldn't cost you that much to get him. And as long as Rand Carthon doesn't make the second worst wide receiver trade in Tennessee Titans history and overpay for Corey Davis, I am in on Davis coming back. Yeah, Davis coming back to the Titans. I just look at this wide receiver room here, and it just doesn't. No, it's okay. It just doesn't look super good. So Treylon Burks, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Kyle Phillips, Racey McMath. This wide receiver room could benefit with an extra player being added to it. So whether that's Corey Davis or DeAndre Hopkins or someone else. I mean, Davis, for example, if you compare his career stats to all of those players on screen, he's got more yards, more touchdowns, and about 100 games plus fewer. So Davis would bring a lot of experience to this very inexperienced wide receiver room. It's kind of crazy to think about, but Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is the most experienced player on this roster. It's not that I'm against going forward. No, it is. I'm against going forward with this wide receiver room as is. I think they should make an addition. I believe another receiver will be added. The Titans, when training camp and preseason get underway, they will be monitoring all other 31 teams as wide receivers. And if there are some cuts to some notable players, they will surely be active on the waiver wire. We see it year in and year out where there's always a couple notable names that get cut during roster cutdown day. If a wide receiver happens to be one of those guys, I'm sure the Titans will be doing a lot of homework, and I can expect an addition to be made. So what do we think about this, though? If you had to pick a wide receiver, who would you rather have? DeAndre Hopkins or Corey Davis? Because the gentleman who wrote into Mr. Wyatt said he'd rather have Corey Davis. I'm going to hardcore disagree with that one. Give me DeAndre Hopkins over Corey Davis. Nothing against Corey Davis, but DeAndre Hopkins is on a Hall of Fame path right now. So I will take a year or two of Hopkins. Plus, get 2 revenge games against the Texans. Could be pretty fun right there for Titans fans to be on the other side of some great DeAndre Hopkins moments. That is it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, taking time out of your day. If you have not subscribed and you like the free Titans content we are providing here, consider subscribing today. It will go a long way to help us get more studio space here at Chat Sports.